Excuse me, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
This is Dee Dee Whitnick, and I was at the the zoning hearing on Friday, and I had some questions about it. And if I had some questions about that meeting, does it has to get addressed at this meeting? Is anybody still there?
I am. This is Rebecca Roker. I'm counsel for the county. I was at the, or at least virtually on the Zoom meeting on Friday.
Yeah, me too.
So I'll do my best to answer your question. Jay Kozlowski is the person who's best to answer that, and he'll be on shortly. But I think if you have follow-up questions for or from the zoning committee meeting, it's best to just submit those questions to Jay, and then he could submit them to, if they need to go to the chair of the zoning committee. Jay, are you on? I think he's just joining us. So I'll let Jay answer your question. Okay, Dee Dee?
Okay, and what was your name again?
Rebecca Roker.
Okay, thanks, Rebecca.
Sure.
Jake, I can't get my screen to show more than one person at a time. But Jay, I had some concerns about the finding of fact from the meeting on Friday.
Right. Frankly, Dee Dee, this would not be the meeting to address those concerns. You can certainly come to the office or call me directly, and we can discuss some of those. But ultimately, if you want to, file an appeal of the zoning committee decision, then it would come in front of this committee. But this is a separate committee from that conditional use permit and rezone that was granted at zoning committee on Friday.
Okay, so I just had a question about the finding of fact. So is that something I could talk to you about at another time? And is there some?
That would be acceptable, but tonight at this format in this meeting, it would not be the time for that.
Okay, and if I got it sometime next week, if we talked, would that be soon enough?
That would be acceptable, yes.
Okay, all right, well, I'm sorry to disturb you all. Please stay safe and healthy. I know it's a challenge right now, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye, Rebecca.
Hi, Rebecca. This is Nancy McCutcheon. Is there a, first of all, I wanted to check, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, awesome. And is there video to this also, or just audio today?
I believe there's video as well.
I'm not seeing an option for video on here.
I usually try to go to the lower left-hand corner.
Kathy, is it just the three of us?
Dee Dee's on, or Dee.
Yeah, I can see an option for audio, but not video. And I do these all day long for work, but I don't see one.
Maybe Jay can help you if he needs to click something on his end. When he comes back, maybe we can ask him.
Excellent.
Yeah, I don't see that option on my end here.
What does she need to do?
She was wanting to use her video.
Oh, here we go. I see it now.
Good, Mike?
Yeah.
All right.
Are you here on behalf of the zoning committee?
I'm not tonight.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. If anyone has their cell phones on, please turn them off. The public hearing for the Sawyer County Zoning Board of Appeals is hereby called to order at 6:05, November 17th, 2020 in the Sawyer County Courthouse, Main Street, Hayward. Present on behalf of the board, Gordy Christians, Laura Roskal Gerber. Present virtually is Dee Dobelis. Also present from the zoning office, Kathy Marks and Pat Brown.
I'm also here, Mark Olson.
Oh, excuse me, yes, Mark Olson is also present virtually. Thank you.
Yep.
Those persons desiring to get pertinent testimony will be afforded the opportunity to do so. As recognized by the chairman, that person will clearly state their full name before giving testimony. Each hearing will follow this order: reading of the publication, submission of the file to the board, applicant's statements and presentation of evidence, testimony of those in support of the application, statements from persons in objection to the application, rebuttal as permitted by the board, and decision by the board. Orderly procedure requires that each side shall proceed without interruption by the other. All testimony will be addressed to the board, and there will be no questions or arguments between individuals. Any persons aggrieved by a decision of the board may appeal the decision of the Sawyer County to the Circuit Court within 30 days of the date following the board's decision letter. The date following the signing of the board's decision letter is the first day of the 30-day appeal filing period. This public hearing has been published as a Class 2 notice in accordance with Chapter 985 Wisconsin statute and the Sawyer County Record and Sawyer County Gazette. The public hearing will follow this order: variance applications, new business, and adjournment.
Mr. Chairman, tonight we have one application for variance. Public hearing for the town of Bass Lake, owner Nancy McCutcheon, part of government lot 7, lot 2, CSM 1625, number 4014, lot 6, CSM 18273, number 5520, section 34, town 40 north, range 09 west, parcel 002-94034, 5717, 1.73 acres total, zoned residential recreational 2, RR2. Application for the construction of a 2-story, 14-foot by 8-foot, 16-foot by 10-foot with eaves dwelling addition, which is located 61 feet to the ordinary high water mark, behind an allowed 14-foot by 14-foot lateral addition, located 47 feet to the ordinary high water mark. Additionally, a proposed 62-foot setback to ordinary high water mark and 19 feet to center line of Durfee Lane, 20-foot wide easement is being requested for the construction of a 26 by 26 foot, 30 foot by 30 foot with eaves detached garage and 22 feet grade to peak. Variance is requested is section 6.1 Sawyer County Zoning Shoreline Wetland Protection Ordinance. Shoreline setbacks would require the prior granting of variance for any structure less than 75 feet to the ordinary high water mark. The proposed variance is requesting 61 and 62 feet to the ordinary high water mark. Section 4.21, parent 6, Sawyer County Zoning Ordinance, setback requirements on highways and roads would require the prior granting of a variance for an accessory structure less than the required 30 foot from center line of a private driveway that is 33 feet or less in width. The town board approved this application with a couple notes. Granting of the variance would not be contrary to the public interest and would be in compliance with the spirit and intent of the Sawyer County zoning ordinance and the Town of Bass Lake Comprehensive Plan, section 8.10, only with a reduced garage size of 22 feet by 22 feet, including eaves. Variance is approved with reduced garage size of 22 feet by 22 feet, including eaves, limited to 16 feet in height, set 66 feet from the ordinary high water mark and 19 feet from the easement road. The shed to be removed before construction on garage begins because, one, unique property limitations, a hill to the west, easement road and wetlands west, east, and south. Reduced parcel to small area that is buildable. 2, no harm to public interest. It would not be damaging to the rights of others or property values, as addition and reduced garage side would not be any closer to easement road than current dwelling and storage shed. 3, unnecessary hardship. Applicant is allowed a 2-story addition of 200 square feet and not granting another 112 square feet to the addition away from the lake would be unreasonable in construction terms and leave a blank hole that would not serve any zoning purpose. A garage may be considered a necessity in northern Wisconsin, but only to a minimum of alleviate the hardship. Granting a variance of a 22 foot by 22 foot, including eaves, garage limited to 16 feet in height, set 66 feet from the ordinary high water mark and 19 feet from the easement road would satisfy any hardship. the shed to be removed before construction on garage begins and guttered to the south. The Town of Bass Lake Planning Commission recommended approval with a reduced garage size to 22 feet by 22 feet, including eaves, to the town board, dated 9 November 2020, signed Erica Warshewski, clerk. For this variance, there were 9 letters sent out, 6 returned, 2 objections, 3 non-objections, 1 with both. I will read those. I have no objections to this. My only concern would be the garage location to Durfee Lane. Clearance for larger vehicles needs to be considered, such as trailers, propane trucks, utility, and service vehicles, but 19 feet from the center line of the road seems reasonable. I trust that everyone involved has taken this into consideration. We're looking forward to seeing the improvements. Signed, Edward Doherty. I have no objections to this. Signed, Kim Senni. I have no objections to this. We support and approve everything. Same, signed, James Partlow. I have objections to this. See attached. Michael Falch. To whom it may concern, we don't have an objection to the addition to the main house, but we do have an objection to the size and placement of the proposed garage. What is proposed is too large and close to the road based on the description written. Parking is already tight there, and taking away an already small open space could lead to roadway bottlenecks, as there are usually multiple vehicles at the house since it is a rental. If the garage was reduced in size and or placed farther from the road, we would remove our objection. Thanks, Mike and Joy Falch. I have objections to this. I feel that one person shouldn't be any closer to the water than the next person. If it's set at 75 feet to the water, that's what it should be. Signed, Dale Aldrich. I have objections to this. We feel that these changes are too large for the property, too close to the water and the road. Additionally, this seems to be a rental property listed on Airbnb, not a residential property. A garage that is 22 feet tall seems like it would be for additional rental space. Signed, Melinda Wanderer and Bill Wanderer and Melissa Wanderer. As per the variance request staff report, summary request, the applicant, Nancy McCutcheon, is requesting a variance to build a 14-foot by 8-foot dwelling addition, which is behind an allowed 14-foot by 14-foot lateral addition. The existing dwelling is 47 feet at the closest point to the ordinary high water mark of Schoolhouse Lake. The proposed expansion would be 61 feet to the ordinary high water mark. Additionally, the applicant, Nancy McCutcheon, is requesting a variance to build a 26-foot by 26-foot detached garage and 22 feet grade to peak. The proposed garage would be 62 feet to the ordinary high water mark and 19 feet to the center line of Durfee Lane, a 20-foot easement. Project history is the property was approved for a variance by previous owners in 2002. However, no permit was taken out and the variance has expired. In 2006, the current property owner applied for a similar variance as the 2002 one and was denied. The applicant is applying for relief of a county and state ordinary high watermark setback, the Sawyer County Zoning Shoreline Wetland Protection Ordinance per section 6.1 in conjunction with NR 115.05 parent 1 parent B. 1 requires a 75-foot setback from the ordinary high watermark of any navigable waters to the nearest part of a building or structure. Additionally, the applicant is applying for relief of a county setback for the proposed garage. The Sawyer County zoning ordinance per section 4.2 parent 6 requires a 30-foot setback from the center of private driveway easements that are less than 33 feet or less in width. The existing structure based on certain setbacks is only eligible for the 200 square foot expansion allowed under NR 115.05, parent 1, parent G, parent 5. That expansion area is being used in combination with the request for the dwelling variance. For on-site notes and comments, you can please see the inspection report that should be in the packet that was completed by myself as part of an on-site on 9/17/2020. I also helped Nancy McCutcheon with the application, stake out a spot for the proposed dwelling addition and proposed garage. I do also have the board's decision checklist for either approval or denial and reasons for those here. That concludes this application.
Okay. Before we begin hearing testimony, what was the application in 2002 and then the one in 2006? And the reason I'm asking that to see if there's a substantial difference between tonight's application and the ones that the board had reviewed previously.
The 2002 application, and this was the one that was approved, but no permit was ever taken out. The owner at that time was Kelly J. and Nestle D. Wickel. That was for construction of a 17, and I believe when Bill used to write these up, it's 17/20 feet by 21 feet 5 inches. I do believe what he means by that is an overall dimension with eaves, so 1.5 feet eaves,
Okay.
and then give us that 20. I am only assuming there though. So 20 foot by 21.5 foot 2-story addition, including eaves onto an existing dwelling at a setback 54 to the ordinary high water mark of Schoolhouse Lake, 19 feet from the center line of Durfee Lane, a private access easement, and 38 feet from the wetland area. Of course, this was at the time when the 200 square foot lateral addition was not allowed. And in 2006, the denial application was for the construction of a 20 foot by 21.5 foot 2-story addition, including eaves onto an existing dwelling at a setback of 54 to the ordinary high water mark of Schoolhouse Lake, 19 from the center line of Durfee Lane, and 38 feet from a wetland area.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, is Nancy McCutcheon present or someone here to speak on her behalf?
Yes, I'm here. This is Nancy.
Okay.
Okay, good evening, board members and neighbors. I appreciate your review of my request for variance. I also have Steve Trude, my contractor, on the call in the event that there are any construction-specific questions that I can't answer. Just by way of background, I was born and raised in Wisconsin and have been living and working in Minnesota for about 18 years. And in 2004, I purchased my home on Schoolhouse Lake on Durfee Lane in Hayward as a summer home to enjoy with my 2 young children, with plans to retire there one day. And that day is approaching, which is why this application is being submitted, to have more room and to have a garage. This is not a rental property, nor is it listed on Airbnb. I think all of the variance pieces were explained with regard to the home, and it seems like the area where there was a requested change was around the garage. So I'm going to focus on that unless there are any specific questions around the addition to the home.
Yes, Nancy, I have one. Why 2 stories?
Why 2 stories? So that I have enough room for, I mean, I think the footprint is what's most important. So I thought that the second story wouldn't be an issue. I hadn't even considered a first story. I think it would look more consistent with the home and the construction of the home if there was a second story. That does allow me to have a bedroom upstairs. Currently, we just have a loft, and my entire family and I all sleep up in the loft, open loft together. This would allow us to have a bedroom upstairs and a first floor bedroom so that I don't have to continue to go up and down the stairs. Right now, there's not a bathroom upstairs, so we sleep upstairs and have to go, in the night down to the bathroom downstairs. So that was the thinking behind the 2-story.
Okay, thank you. And you had some comments to make about the garage?
Yes, about the garage. So I'm requesting a variance to add a 26 by 26 by 22 detached garage. And after meeting with the planning committee and then the zoning committee, I can agree to, I want to be as far away from the water as I can as well. It's an interesting, very small lot where I'm surrounded by water and I'm surrounded by the road, and it's very tight space that's buildable. And so I thought about the 26 by 26, and it was recommended a 22 by 22. And also we had a conversation about the height of the garage. And I agree, we can bring that down. There really isn't need for it to be that high. So I'm happy to, meet the recommendations as far as the height, and then also decrease the depth of the garage to 22. That would bring me 4 feet further away from the water and no closer to the road. But having a 22 by 22 gives me less than a 2-car garage, and that would just be very challenging to be stuck with a 1-car or 1.5-car garage. So it wouldn't bring me any closer to the road, doesn't bring me any closer to the water. It just gives me a little bit more room to accommodate 2 vehicles. And so that is my request, that we look at that as an option. And then, of course, if granted, standard erosion requirements would be met, silt fencing, anything that needed to be done to address any concerns around runoff, we'd be happy to take care of.
Okay, thank you.
One other thing I would add is I did look for alternatives. We looked at, could we build something across the road, but there's wetland there as well. So we were really stuck with not a lot of options.
Okay, any additional comments you'd like to make before to the board?
I think that's everything. Thank you for your consideration.
Just the main cameras, there's one behind you there,
Okay,
and that one up in the corner, so.
all right, okay. I'm curious. Does that conclude your testimony, Nancy?
Yeah, so just to clarify, it would be, what I'm requesting is 26 wide by 22 deep by 16 foot high, as opposed to the 26 by 26 by 22, I think it was.
And that's with eaves, Nancy? Or are those footprint dimensions?
That's with eaves.
Thank you.
The original was not with eaves, that was 30 by 30 with eaves.
Okay, the courtroom is empty, but I think I'm obligated to ask, is there anyone else that wants to give testimony on behalf of the applicant or application? Hearing and none or seeing none, Is there anyone or any way somebody,
Actually, user Phil, looks like there's a hand up. User Phil? Is that Phil Neese?
You have to unmute him.
Phil, can you hear us?
I can hear. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay, my hand has been lowered the whole time because Jay really gave me a hard time about having my hand up all the time. So I will not be speaking tonight. So thank you.
so what just happened? Nothing, so.
Ask if anyone else is.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on behalf of the application? Hearing none, seeing none, and echoing none. Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Having no response, discussion by the board and decision by the board. Let's talk to our virtual committee members first, see what input they might have.
Mr. Chairman, this is Mark Olson. I believe we have to come out of public hearing first before we can go in. You weren't at the last meeting where they changed our little procedures. Am I correct in that, Rebecca?
Actually told you that. You
Or Jay?
close the public comment portion and then open it up to discussion. You make a motion to close public comment.
We do that through the form of a motion?
Yeah, correct.
That might have been good information earlier. Okay, is there a motion to close the public comment section of this hearing?
I will make that motion, Mark Olson.
Okay,
I'll second.
so first by Mark Olson, second by Dee Dobulis to close the public input portion of this application. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Let the record reflect a 5-0 vote in favor of closing the public hearing application. Okay. Go ahead, Pat.
So no, I'm going to reread the application as a discussion action item.
Oh, all right.
Yep. So discussion action for the town of Bass Lake, owner Nancy McCutcheon, part of government lot 7, lot 2, CSM 1625, number 4014, lot 6, CSM.
Legal description previously read.
Oh, so legal description is previously read into record. Application for the construction of a 2-story, 14-foot by 8-foot, 16-foot by 10-foot with eaves, dwelling addition, which is located 61 feet to the ordinary high water mark behind a allowed 14-foot by 14-foot lateral addition located 47 feet to the ordinary high water mark. Additionally, a proposed 62-foot setback to the ordinary high water mark and a 19-foot to center line of Durfee Lane, 20-foot wide easement is being requested for construction of a 26-foot by 26-foot, 30-foot by 30-foot with eaves, detached garage, and 22 feet grade to peak. Variance is requested 6.1, section 6.1 Sawyer County zoning shoreline wetland protection ordinance. Shoreline setbacks would require the prior granting of variance for any structure less than 75 feet to the ordinary high water mark. The proposed variance is requesting 61 and 62 feet to the ordinary high water mark. Section 4.21, parent 6, Sawyer County zoning ordinance, setback requirements on highways, roads would require the prior granting of variance for accessory structures less than the required 30-foot from center line of a private driveway that is 33 feet or less in width.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll open it up for discussion by the board.
This is Mark Olson. May I speak? Just a little background on the prior two variances. The one in 2002 was pre-planning committee at the town level, and then the 2006 one was after the planning committee was established. So just that little piece of information.
That's all?
Yeah, for that point.
You have another?
I guess hearing the comments and what she's requesting, at the town level, they talked about moving the garage further away from the wetland that is actually part of the lake, moving it closer to the house. And at the time, she was not in favor of it, but we discussed it, and they were actually looking at moving it further towards the house with the same size that they recommended. So that was discussed and looked at. It was not discussed to allow it to be bigger by moving it closer to the house. They talked about moving the entire structure, and she was not for it at the time. So that was the only other piece that the width of the garage that she is asking for tonight.
Okay, thank you. Dee, did you have any comments or questions?
Just had to remember to unmute myself. Basically the only difference between these applications is part of it was because the first application, they hadn't gotten a building permit in the 2 years as required, correct? The first person?
Yes, that's my understanding.
Okay. I just wanted to clear that up in my head. Other than that, is there any way that the garage itself could be moved closer to the house to get away from the wetland there?
We'll ask that question of the applicant.
This is Mark Olson. Basically, there's two parts of this that we have to look at. The wetland is actually considered part of the lake, so that's why it's 75 feet back. And if we move the garage closer to the house, it's still going to end up being the same distance from the lake, the actual lake. So it'll still be 61 feet from the way the house faces towards the lake. It's just on the other side of the garage is where the wetland that's considered part of the lake is. So if we move it closer, it's still going to be 61 feet from the lake, part of the structure is, and another section of the structure would be farther away, if that makes sense. Maybe maybe zoning could clarify that more than I did.
Well, thanks, Mark. That's, I can see that there now. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion by the board from our two virtual members or from the sitting members here this evening?
I guess I would just point out that I think the town really spent some time on the size of the garage being, if you add up, they looked at the impervious surface and the height of the garage, and also the addition on the house that it was adding. Now 200 square feet is allowed, but it was adding a lot of roof line to that little piece of property that's between all the water. But they seemed to find the house part seemed to make sense to them, that denying the one little section didn't make much sense. But the garage was their big sticking point that a lot of discussion was on, and they were pretty resolute in the size being, according to the law, the minimum required to ease the hardship. And the size they have is a 2-car garage. It's just a tight 2-car garage. And they were actually looking at a 1-car garage in part of their discussion, and didn't feel that was fair. So they kind of settled on that size there, but they didn't feel any bigger or wider or taller really satisfied granting her, relief from her hardship. So I just wanted to stress that point. And they really, like I said, they struggle with the garage, knowing that people up here consider that a necessity, even though the court doesn't, but they don't live here. So they worked really hard to accomplish all that. So I guess that was all I had to add.
Okay. Thanks. In my opinion, 22 by 22 is pretty tight. Neither my wife or I have very big vehicles, and ours is 24 by 24, and we kind of have to scoot around one another when the doors are open. And I appreciate the comment that the applicant made that that 26 feet doesn't affect the lake or the wetland, or at least not in my opinion. The 22 by 26 seemed a reasonable compromise, and I was going to ask why the original request was for such a tall garage, and I see that that's not an issue. The 16 foot from grade to peak would be acceptable, so I won't ask that question. Any further comments from the board?
This is Mark Olson. I just wanted to, if we have enough people voting for the quorum, I was going to abstain from voting, being I'm one house away from the 300 feet, and I guess it would just make sense if we have enough to vote, then I will abstain from voting. I'm not recusing myself, but I'll abstain from voting if we have enough for the vote.
Well, we have 5.
So we should.
So.
Yeah. Okay, then I will abstain.
You may need to be a tiebreaker.
Yeah, if I have to, I'll vote, but if I don't have to, I would abstain.
Okay, so recorded.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
in looking at that site, it is a mighty small site for an awful lot of buildings. And I think we have a lot of those in this county. And, the closeness to the road itself bothered me more than, I guess, the closeness to the water. As you back out, you're gonna back right on the road. And like I say, there's no really, once you put the garage there, there's no place to park a car, basically outside of that.
I could answer a little bit on that question. The cars are parked there currently, which would be where that fence line is next to the shed. So the cars have been there for years in the same spot, where the shed is. So they're already backing out that way and have for a long time. So, the 19 feet of cars like 20 feet, they do park at a diagonal angle there outside of that fence line. So moving it any closer to the center line of the road would not be acceptable, I don't think. And like I said, it's been parked there and backed in and out of there well, since the house has been there, just as background.
That's good input, Mark. Thank you.
Mark, was there any talk at the town board meeting of, meeting that 22, 26 at a halfway point? Like Al said, 2 vehicles can make it into a 24, and I know that seems a small or a large concession depending on which end you're on, but maybe meeting it halfway there. I mean, did they go directly from 26 down to 22, or was there discussion in between?
There was actually discussion going to a 1-car garage, and then they upped it to, I guess people would consider this a garage and a half. It depends what door you put on and everything else, but you can fit 2 cars in there. It'll be tight. You're not going to be able to get into each car at the same time. It's going to be a tight garage, but yeah, they did actually look at a single car garage, and they also was discussed to move it closer to the house so it was further away from that wetland, while not increasing the size, still keeping it a 22 by 22 with eaves, but move it even further away from the wetland. So the 4 feet that she's asking for, they were actually looking to move it even further towards the house, but that was shot down, that they decided it was the same distance from the front lake shore, that they could live with the distance.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
All right, any further discussion by the board? Hearing none, I'll call for motion. Does anyone wish to make a motion to either approve or deny the initial request or make modifications to the initial request?
So we're not discussing what the town recommended at this point. We're discussing the 26 by 26 garage.
Correct. Because that's what the request is.
Well, to get it going for discussion, I would make a motion to follow the town's recommendations and findings of fact.
Yeah, we can do that.
If there's a second to that, we can discuss changes.
So, Mark,
Yep.
I have a point of order here. Can you make a motion and then abstain from voting on it?
I don't know, I guess that would be a question for the attorney.
No, he volunteered to abstain.
Yep. I just said I prefer not to have to vote, being I am a neighbor, just for neighborly considerations. But if there's a tie, I would vote.
Did you hear that, Mark?
No.
To repeat your motion, please.
My motion?
Yes.
Oh, I would make the motion to put it up, to get it going, that we would go with the town's recommendations and the town's findings of fact for the size and location.
Okay, is there a second to the motion?
I would second that motion.
There's been a motion and a second, discussion on the motion. I don't think that the 26 foot in width is unreasonable. That's my only comment. Dee, do you have any comments?
I would think that to approve it as it's presented would be fine with me.
Which way?
Are you commenting on the application or on the motion?
Both. Sorry.
Okay, all right. Gordy, do you have any comments?
I guess I would go along with that. I could see maybe expanding it to 22 by 26,
Yes,
which would give you the extra space.
okay. So, if I'm interpreting this correctly, the motion is to approve a 22 by 22 by 16 foot garage addition, not closer than 62 feet from the ordinary high water mark or from the,
66 feet.
excuse me?
66 feet is what the town motion was. They reduced the size, so it moved it further back from the ordinary.
Oh, okay, 66 feet, thank you. And also to approve the addition to the home as presented, which was, what, 14 by 8? 16 by 10 with these, and it's 2-story.
Yes.
So that's the
And,
motion that we're,
And 19 feet from the center line of the road, and gutters away from the lake.
yeah, well, that's all included in the
Yep.
town's recommendation.
Yep.
All right, so 22 by 22 and 8 by 10. Excuse me, 16 by 10 on the house, with a maximum height of 16 feet. All those in favor of the motion as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So like, maybe we better do a roll call vote on this. Who,
Okay.
who said aye?
Now, I'm confused again. Where are we at on the size of the garage?
22 by 22 by 16.
Thank you.
That's what we're voting on right now.
Okay.
So I'm gonna call for the vote again. I'll do a roll call vote. D,
Yes.
22 by 22 by 16. How do you vote?
Yes.
Gordon, 22 by 22 by 16.
Yes.
Yes. Laura,
Yes.
I vote no. Mark, you won't have to vote.
Okay.
So what is being approved is 22 by 22 by 16 for the garage, 16 by 10 with eaves, addition to the dwelling, and setbacks as previously mentioned in the motion. Is that correct?
Yep, basically the town planning committee's write-up they did is, along with their findings of facts, I'll concur with those.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so this variance application is closed, correct?
We just need findings of fact.
Well, Mark just said that he would include the findings of fact.
From the town planning committee.
Yeah, from the town planning committee. Okay. Ms. McCutcheon, do you understand what was just approved?
It sounds like the addition to the home was approved and the garage recommendation is 22 by 22 by 16. That's what was approved,
Yeah.
not the 26 by 22 by 16.
Yes, that's my understanding. So whenever it's convenient within the next 2 years, you could stop by the zoning office and take out the land use permit. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, tonight we have a request for an appeal hearing. There's been an email requesting an adjournment until December 15th. I will read the application into, or read the request into record, then the email from Ryan Carey, who is the appellant attorney. So, appeal hearing, hearing for the town of Round Lake, owners A&D Contracting Development LLC and SMM Properties LLC, all in part of Government Lot 2, Lot 1, CSM 36290, number 8480, and Lot 2, CSM 36290, number 8480, Section 30, Town 41 North, Range 07 West, parcel number 024-741-305239. Zone residential recreational 1, RR1, 3.06 total acres. Development of lands in the town of Round Lake, west of Sandy Beach Road. Appeal is for the zoning administrator's approval of certified survey maps for the development of lots. The approval of the certified survey map in question is an appeal of the Sawyer County ordinance for the following reasons. 1, the certified survey map violates section 4.0, parent 1 of the Sawyer County subdivision control condominium ordinance, and 2, the approval of CSM is in violation of Department of Natural Resources determination with regard to wetlands present on or adjacent to the subject parcel. And this is the email from Ryan Carey. Ms. Marks, yesterday my office had a conference call with John Carlson, counsel for Sawyer County Board of Adjustment, and Rebecca Roker, counsel for Sawyer County, regarding the above referred appeal, which is set to be heard before the Board of Adjustment this evening at 6 p.m. During our call, counsel for the parties agreed to adjourn the hearing to the next BOA meeting, presumably December. Mr. Carlson has already conferred with his client and confirmed the adjournment. Can you please advise as to when the next meeting is scheduled to take place and confirm that this appeal will be on the agenda for that next meeting? Thank you for your time. Ryan C. Carey, and phone number 612-916-7926. If we accept the adjournment, we need a motion, Mr. Chairman, for the December 15th or January 19th, 2021 at the latest Board of Appeals. That is all.
Rebecca, are you on?
Yes, sir, I am.
Is this the proper way to handle this type of request?
Yes, pursuant to the board's bylaws, I believe it's section 8 point, where is that? 8.01, a party may request an adjournment. I'm sorry, 8.14 may request an adjournment for a hearing to another date. And as Mr. Brown indicated, myself, Mr. Carey, and Mr. Carlson spoke last night and mutually agreed that adjournment would be the best under these circumstances, because there are hopefully discussions going to be had between the petitioner and the actual property owner. So if those issues may be able to be ironed out, then there would be no further need for the board's actions. So again, pursuant to 8.14, it is appropriate that this brought before the board, and then the board needs to vote on whether to approve that request for adjournment.
Rebecca, during that conversation, did they have a preference as to December or January?
My understanding, not last night, but pursuant to email correspondence today, Mr. Carlson said that January may be better, just because December is often, he used the terms lost month. But I believe Mr. Carey is on the phone, and so I'd like him to weigh in on what his client's preference would be.
Yes, this is Ryan Carey. Thank you. We did have a brief email exchange, and I think we did agree that the January date would be preferable, and that is fine with the appellant.
Okay. Thank you both.
Just one question, Rebecca. You were mentioning 8.14. Wouldn't it actually be section 7.1?
Are you talking about from your bylaws?
Yes.
That's
where it's talking about an adjournment of a hearing and time and place certain.
There it is, but also under 8.14 is the, let's see here. I'd have to go back and look at the context, but yes, Mr. Olson, you're correct.
That was the specific section under an administrative appeal, so
yeah,
reference that.
7.13. Yes, and I believe the terms are the same, so it should be the same analysis. Yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Rebecca, as long as we got you here, I wasn't at the last Board of Appeals meeting, and this closing the public hearing and going into the discussion phase. I have a question regarding that. If we ask for, during our discussion, if we subsequently ask for additional comments from the applicant or the applicant's representative, do we have to reopen the public phase comment section and then reclose it again, or is that just considered to be part of our discussion?
Without looking at your bylaws to confirm my response, I believe if you're asking the applicant questions, you would not need to go back into public hearing. I don't know whether the bylaws say something different. I would be surprised if they did. But generally speaking, a board or a committee can engage in dialogue with an applicant. There may be different circumstances, depending on, if it's a de novo review. I can't, I'm not ready to answer. I can't answer those questions for you right now.
Okay.
But generally
could you take a
speaking, no,
look?
you don't have to go back into public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, Jay Kozlowski, zoning administrator. And Rebecca Roker tonight is actually representing myself, the zoning administrator. She's not representing the Board of Adjustments here tonight.
Okay.
But yes, you as the chairman do have the ability to engage back to whether it be the applicant or those aggrieved parties. That is specified in your bylaws.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so there's been a request to postpone, is that the right word? Adjourn. The appeal hearing that was previously scheduled for tonight to January 21st? January 19th. I knew there's a 21 in there somewhere. Okay, I would make that motion to make that postponement. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that motion.
Second by Laura. Okay, any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. The motion is to postpone,
No, adjourn.
adjourn the appeal hearing previously scheduled for November 17th until a later date, now scheduled for January 19th, 2021. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, by voice vote, motion is approved by a vote of 5-0. Next order of business is
New business.
new business. Is there any new business?
No.
All right. Hearing no new business, motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mark Olson.
Mark Olson moves to adjourn.
Second. With a D.
Seconds. All those in favor of the motion to adjourn, signify by saying aye.
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 We are closed. Thank you. Thanks, Rebecca.
You're welcome. Thank you.